Welcome back everybody to Forza Motorsport. So we're doing the final 3 races in the Premium Performance Championship. So next event is going to be at Road America. So we've got how many laps? 4 laps. So, and it looks like it's going to be raining as well. Right, so let's see what we can do for the Lotus and Mirror in terms of upgrades. So we've already got 440 horsepower and 340 pounds-feet of torque. So that's about 40 horsepower more than standard. Not sure what we're gonna do though. Don't think we're gonna have enough for sport tyres. Nope. Platform handling, brakes. Nope. Because of this awful upgrade system. Doesn't look like we can do very much, to be honest. Got the tyres. I think we're just gonna basically just cram it full of more power, to be honest. Exhaust, yeah, we've already got full of that. Right, so we'll shove it full of more power. That's like basically all we can do. And we'll lighten the flywheel so the car's a little bit lighter, but the engine's able to rev a little bit easier. And that's basically it. Right. Because we can't improve the tyres, lowering the suspension doesn't seem to do much in terms of the handling or the braking. We can't afford the better brakes, so yeah. That's all we can really do, unfortunately. Right, so let's get through all of this guff. Because I've still not sorted this out. Don't know why they assume that everybody wants to do practicing. Why can't we just choose whether or not to do it or not from the start of that menu? Instead of having to go through all of these cinematics and load screens and whatnot. So it's very tiresome, very boring, and very unnecessary. Right, so we'll start in 12th as per usual, and then we'll lighten our load with the fuel. So drop it down to 6 laps. So 42%, so less than half. Right. So I think we found in the previous 3 races that the TVR Griffith is really rather quite quick in a straight line, so hopefully the extra power we've given this will hopefully somewhat offset that, because that is a much lighter car than we are, and it had more power than we did in stock. Obviously now we are more powerful and slightly lighter. Made up 1 place so far. There's another, so we're to the top 10 now. This Aston Martin is probably going to have more power than we do. Also more weight. Can't break them though. Very close between a rock and a hard place there. Slightly clipped that Ferrari, but that's because it was a lot slower going into there because it had gone off prior. We did gain a place regardless, so yeah, we're now into 9th. Around the outside. The light is quite slow. Can creep through, yeah, just about. So I've actually been enjoying another Lotus in A-Class racing online. I've been enjoying the 2002 Lotus Esprit V8, which I've been really enjoying driving. I've got it into a really nice position in terms of the upgrades. Might well see a video of me racing that online. It's the first car that I've properly enjoyed driving online. There's definitely been cars that I have enjoyed overall in terms of driving, but they've always had some kind of flaw, or they've not felt consistent enough in terms of being, you know, competitive, but that Lotus Esprit has been really fun to drive. And yeah, it's been enjoyable to see it slowly progress in terms of the upgrades because of the upgrade system, which I fundamentally don't like, but I do like the way that I've tried to, you know, mould it into working in my favour in terms of using it online. So I'll race it a few laps around a normal track on free play, get it up to at least level 2 or level 3, use those upgrades to get it into the class that I want it to, or at least get it slightly above the baseline of the class, which I think is 600 for A class, is the bottom line of that class. And then I'll basically just race it and slowly work the car up into getting up to the top of that class that it's in. So yeah, which works really nicely. It's fun to see the car gets gradually quicker and more competitive. I like that aspect of it, but at the end of the day I'd have just as much fun, you know, driving it fully upgraded in that class from the start, and then, you know, trialing and error what works and what doesn't, like I would in a normal Forza game with a normal upgrade system. So yes, I've made the upgrade system as bad as it is work for me in that regard, but it still would be a better game if the upgrade system was the way it's always been and always worked. So yeah, but that Esprit has been real fun. The last couple of upgrades I gave it really transformed it into a proper competitive car. I gave it chassis reinforcement, not a full-blown roll cage, just the second upgrade you can give in roll cages. So I think it's this a sport chassis upgrade. Lightened it to make up for the extra weight that the chassis reinforcement would give. And yeah, this has made it a complete joy to drive. It's so much more stable through corners and coming out of corners. And yeah, it's got a decent chunk of power as well. It's got 415 horsepower, which is obviously not as much as this car and such, but it does also weigh less, so there is that. And yeah, I really like the V8 on that car. Wish I could have given it like massive race turbochargers and whatnot to really drive home the point that it's got a big amount of power, but unfortunately that would mean that I'd have to sacrifice some of the handling, and the handling is pretty much perfect on that car, so didn't really see the need to do that, even though it's not the fastest on the straights. There's very rarely a race where you need a huge amount of top speed. The most I've gotten out of it is about 156, which is decent enough, but yeah, certainly quicker cars out there than that. Actually looked at how fast we get on the straights with this car though. Let's see, can we get quicker than that Lotus Esprit or not? Quite on this straight, but it's not far off. Can we at least get a podium though? There is a Porsche in our way. Definitely could do with better handling in this though. But because of the upgrade system, I had to choose putting more power into it over nothing at all. Granted, if you know I need the extra points to get the better tyres or whatnot, I will obviously downgrade the power again. But for now, this is what we're having to deal with. And to be honest, we do need quite a lot of power on this circuit because there are a lot of straights, fast corners, so you need quite a powerful car for this race, to be honest. The handling isn't bad though, just not as good as maybe some cars here. At least we've got past the Porsche, so we are going to get at least a podium position as we slowly get towards our last lap.
Final lap. You got this.
Yeah, we're only getting to about 152, which is not that much for a car that has as much power as we do. Yeah, let's just check again how much power we've got. 480 thereabouts. Let's check. Should give us a good reading anytime now. Yeah, about 480 I think it was. So it's obviously quite a lot of power in a car that barely weighs 3,000 pounds, but it's just not got a lot. Oh dear. It's not got a lot of grunt to it. There's not a lot of torque there. I think we are supercharged as well, aren't we? Yeah. Maybe instead of, you know, upgrading the ignition and whatnot, upgrading the supercharger would be more beneficial in terms of delivering power into this car. But again, that's a massive amount of CPU points or whatever they call them, so that's not something that's, again, readily available to try out. Still don't know where they came from in terms of the viewpoint of the upgrade system in general. I know they're on about giving you ownership over your car and whatnot, but if you want to really give us ownership, give us a garage, give us a, you know, like a top 10 car garage that we can, you know, wander around in or something like that, like they do with the test drive games. When we have the new one coming out next year, Solar Crown I think it's called, which is set in Hong Kong, and yeah, that looks really interesting. So yeah, if they wanted to give us ownership over our cars and give us a garage, you know, we can wander around and customise and whatnot, but merely forcing us to drive the same car for hour on hour on hour just to get the kind of upgrades that you need is not ownership. It's, you know, it's forcing us to, you know, stick with the same car. It's not making us want to stay with the same car for any other reason than we need to do it to get the upgrades. That's not ownership. No, that's basically conscription. It's basically making you do it. So yeah, the TVR Griffiths were ahead of us, even though we got more in the way of PI. They clearly still have a lot of power to weight in terms of their amount of power that they've got going on, even if they've got, you know, 450 horsepower. Yes, that's less than what we've got, but they also weigh a lot less than we do as well. So yeah, we definitely need to get some upgrades in there. So yeah, we've lost our first place position in the championship, but thankfully there is only 1 point in it, so still everything to play for. So let's move on to the 5th race. Right, before we start the 5th race, we're obviously going to check out the upgrades. So now we have 700 to play with. So we can't do the supercharger, as you can see. It would make a big difference in terms of acceleration, and it will give us a healthy amount of horsepower and torque as well, crucially. But yeah, we can't afford it. But we can afford the tyres. No, we can't. Oh well. But I did say I'd sacrifice a bit of power just to get the right amount of horsepower. So but getting rid of the exhaust not only knocks off, what, 15 horsepower and nearly 20 pounds-feet of torque, but it's also putting up a load of weight. It's putting up 21 extra pounds. But we need the points, so yeah, we're going to have to get the tyres. We need them to massively upgrade our handling. As you can see, we're now into the 4-pointers. 4.2 for handling. Acceleration actually slightly goes up because we're able to put the power down, and the 4.1 braking as well. Is there any more lightning we can do? Yeah, we can. We can basically make up for most of the weight that we lost by, well, gained by getting rid of the exhaust. Now we're only 6 pounds heavier than we were originally, rather than 21. So yeah, that'll definitely help. Right. So let's see what those upgrades do for us, whether or not they'll help or not. Let's find out. Right, so we're at Suzuka Circuit, the full length one. I really like this track, it's one of my favourites on the game, so hopefully we will do well. So we've got 4 laps once again, so let's drop our weight down with the fuel. Right, so there we go. Right, let's see what this these upgraded tyres and only ever so fractionally more in the way of weight does to our performance. We should have better handling and braking, slightly better acceleration. And even though we now have less power, and ever so slightly more in the way of weight, we will be able to put that power down better than we could originally, so there is that. Also brake later and turn in better, so we should overall be faster. The Aston Martin was braking so hard there, so it's gone off. Don't know if this in front of us is one of the TVR Griffiths we're competing against or not. Regardless, we are past for now. And the outside of the Aston and the Ferrari. Yeah, I can definitely feel a bit more confident with these tyres now. The car feels more planted and secure. There were moments in that previous race where the car did step out sometimes. Now granted, we could slightly solve that by adding some ballast to make the weight distribution more even, but that does add weight and that ultimately does harm your acceleration. So although it does make the car a more stable vehicle to drive, it does make it a heavier one and therefore a slower one as well. This car's going to be somewhat rear biased with it being mid-engine and rear wheel drive. So the TVR in front of us, and whatever's in second and first further ahead. Yeah, those TVRs are like a rocket ship on the straights. You can see he's getting well ahead of us. Cannot compete with that V8 engine. It's such a lightweight body. You can compete with it through the corners. Gained a load of time there. Inside, you get scared because the AI are absolutely awful when you comes to, you know, dealing with the fact that someone's suddenly there that weren't there before. I don't know why they get so scared when you come up the inside of them. It's not a natural reaction whatsoever, to be honest. Feels kind of artificial, which I guess is what AI is at the end of the day, but it could be at a little bit more convincing in their intelligence. Now we were able to get ahead of the Porsche in part because of the power that we had in the previous race, but obviously we have lost some of that power now, and as you can see the Porsche is pulling ahead. We seemingly have the better handling, just like against the TVR. Slipstream. So much time for that corner there. Again, why are you getting scared? There was a good half a car's width between us, and yet you wussed off into the... Yeah, look how much the distance there was between us, and then you wussed off into the gravel again. Makes no sense, but it's given us a second place. Right, can we gain on first? Granted, we don't necessarily have to get first, because if that's not the car that is currently leading the championship, then we will gain points over the car that is, and therefore retake the championship overall. But if it is the car that is in front of us, then yeah, we do need to get ahead of them, as it will gain another 3 points ahead of us, which will make the next race all the harder to, you know, win the championship with. Quite far ahead, and we've only got just over a lap left. And as good as the handling is on this now, I don't think it's going to be good enough to make that distance up. See, don't give me a penalty. Oh, I'll have to rewind now. Because that penalty really would not help in terms of gaining first place, because if we get slightly ahead of them, obviously if we're not more than 0.4 of a second ahead, then we would obviously still get into second place. So yeah, we do not need any penalties. Comfortably ahead of third, so we don't have to worry about anyone behind us.
Final lap.
So we don't have to defend, we're just attacking here, but there is obviously quite some distance between us and them. Tyres aren't 100% either, so even though they're quite new, they're not obviously bang up to date, fresh. that just about. I don't think we really made up any more time there, so gonna have to settle for second. So let's see what that does for the championship standings overall. Very nearly leveled up to number 15, I think it was, but yeah. It was another Amira, so we're fine. Yeah, that Amira went up 2 places, up into 4th, but because we were ahead of the Griffith, we got 4 extra points, so even though there's only 1 point ahead, we've obviously now 3 points ahead. So yeah, still everything to play for in the 6th and final race. So let's get there with after we get to the upgrades. But yeah, let's see just where that puts us. And hopefully we can get some decent upgrades. Extra power would be helpful, but more handling would be great as well, especially since we're on Spa, so you know it's quite a handling and power circuit. So I feel like we can't get the exhaust, camshaft, that would be helpful. That'd make up not just the power from the exhaust being lopped off, but a little bit of extra as well, but it doesn't really give us a huge amount of extra torque. What about we can't do displacement. Already got those. Can't do the supercharger. Valves, they don't give really any torque at all either. Not enough for the race tyres. Transmission, does that do anything for us? Slightly increases the acceleration and decreases the weight. Clutch would obviously improve the time between changing gears. Again, that improves acceleration and drastically reduces the weight as well by 8 pounds. I think we'll just go for the camshafts. It's a safe bet that more power will help, whereas transmission and clutch, that's only really going to come in handy while changing gears, which obviously does happen quite a lot, but there are obviously times when you're in the same gear because you're speeding along at a high rate of speed, and if you've got more power then you can do that a lot better. So yeah, let's get on to this race, and yeah, hopefully we'll get the win in. Right, so here we are at Spa. It's night time, so that might change the dynamics of racing a little bit, but not to a huge degree. Might make the tyres a little bit harder to warm up, but yeah, regardless of that, should be okay. Right, so let's see what happens. So again, 4 laps, so it's not going to be a long race, but you know, it is a long track, so there are plenty of areas where things can easily go wrong, especially at Rouge. So yeah, but we do have more power now, with much higher revving engine, as you can see. So let's hopefully do well. Would be nice to end on a win, but that's obviously no guarantee. Can't see the TVR there. So yeah, nearly 500 horsepower now. AI are predictably braking in this area because they don't know how to deal with such a fast, slightly complex part, because they are useless. A slipstream with this Aston Martin. See, slightly grinding against that one. Into 5th-ish. Yes. 4th. There we go. So the additional power is now helping alongside the better tyres and the weight not being the most in the world. Obviously you could go full-blown handling with this and, you know, ditch all of the power. Because this car itself is by no means a slow coach in standard form with its standard amount of power, but yeah, obviously every other car here has more power in stock form than we would in stock form as well. And to be honest, outside of the TVR Griffith in its standard form, every other car here also has more power than we do. So yeah, even with all of these upgrades, we're hardly the most powerful car here. So you could just go full blown into the handling aspects, because yeah, there are definitely areas in the handling that you could upgrade better. You could lower the ride height, whatnot. Improve the brakes, put some weight reduction in it and whatnot, but I do feel like additional power has its place alongside handling upgrades. You can go too much in one direction and it not be particularly quick. It will handle extremely well, but on the straights you'll be left for dead. On circuits like this and Road America, you need a fair bit of power. We've got an achievement in there. Don't know what that one was for. I think I've already got an achievement for racing at 90 and 100 laps, so I don't know what don't think it's going to be anything to do with that. Might be a certain amount of laps in a podium position, maybe. I'll check once we get onto this straight. We should have a bit of time just to quickly check. Yep. Leisure cruise. No idea. That does not give me any clue at all what the achievement's for. Second and first are not far off. Still do have a decent chunk of time left to make up those positions. Especially now we don't have anyone really behind us. And up front is quite clear, so we have some clean space to concentrate on going quickly. Driving the tyres off of this car at this point. Yeah, the rear end does still step out ever so slightly sometimes. It's just because of the amount of weight up at the rear over the front. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, it's very easy to get track violations on this track because there's very high speed elements to it, but the rumble strips and whatnot are not very wide, unlike Road America, so yeah, it's very easy to get a track violation. Someone has had a slight off, which is going to help us. I think it's a Porsche, yes it is. Don't mind me, take advantage of that. To be fair, second place also took advantage of it, so not the only one. I do think it's another Porsche, so we don't need to get this first place because it's not a Porsche that is only 3 points behind us. It's a TVR Griffith, but I do want to win to end this championship on with, so we are going to try and do it. Tell how much clean air I had in that lap, because I improved on the first lap by more than 5 seconds. Granted it was a dirty one, I'm going to rewind, but still, pretty quick lap for me. slightly into the slipstream of the Porsche, which is helping. But as you can see, even with nearly 500 horsepower, we do not have the best amount of speed down that straight. I do think the gearbox is slightly limiting with this car. Obviously, if we were to do another race, I would improve the transmission, but this is our final race with the Amira. For now anyway, I might well choose him once we maybe get into only a class race. Not the type of car race that we're in now. Porsche is hanging in there, so that's a good sign of AI being fairly decent in this race. Outside of their insistence on braking heavily through Rouge, they are pretty good on this track. Typically is the first place car though that is the better AI out of the lot. A lot closer this time, so we can get some clean air. No need to brake there. And he got scared and went off the road. Right, start this last lap in first place, so
One more lap.
I know, I can read. Yeah, overall a fun championship. I do really like this car. Really glad that Lotus have come out with basically a successor to the Evora. Only I think Amira is a slightly better sounding name. But yeah, it is a lot like the Evora, to be honest. Same kind of engine. I think it is actually the same engine, although it has more power. Although I do think the looks are a little bit better. And yeah, it's a really nice sports car overall. Really good competitor for the likes of the Alfa Romeo 4C. Porsche Cayman, so to be honest, I actually prefer it to those two cars. So, because you know the fact it's got a supercharged engine is just really rather unique, whereas they have turbocharged or naturally aspirated and whatnot. So yeah, to have a supercharged engine in this day and age is a real rarity. Although granted, this is Lotus's final. I think it said it was their final combustion engine vehicle. Or something along those lines to that effect. Which is obviously a shame. I think if one company could get away with still making combustion engine vehicles, it would be Lotus. Because they make, you know, lightweight cars. They've never really used big engines. You know, I think the biggest engine they've ever used has been the V8 in the Lotus Esprit. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that if the rumours are true, that they are ditching combustion engines, because you know, with slightly smaller engines, they could make properly quick cars that were also efficient and emissions compliant and whatnot. But regardless, it has done us wonders for this championship. It's been a mostly successful car. Not always getting us a win, but putting in the hard work where necessary. And we do want to end on a win regardless. So there we go. See how many points ahead that put us. So yeah, the TVR Griffiths were nowhere to be seen. They were in 11th and 12th. So they did not have a good time at all, which is going to completely give us 17 points ahead of the TVR Griffith, and even the Porsche 911 made up another place. So that was a good championship. That was. I really like that car, and more importantly, that gives us a reward. Let's see what it is. So we get the 2017 Ford GT for doing all of the Modern Tour series. So that's really cool. And then we have unlocked the Open Class Tour, so that's where you can choose a car in any class. So you obviously can upgrade cars into a certain class, or just use certain cars in that class already. So we're definitely looking at that, and we get more upgrades for the Lotus as well. So overall a really rather fun championship. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, but nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.